Sean, what's up?
Greetings, Edgerenka. Welcome, viewers. Top News looks at BVI Forward. What is BVI Forward? It's a campaign being hosted by the financial services sector to further strengthen the BVI financial services industry with a view to ensure that it is strong and sustainable. Now, earlier today, we had a breakfast meeting for media practitioners hosted by Premier and Minister of Finance, Dr. Smith. And out of that discussion, we were able to touch on a number of key issues. Of course, BVI Forward will be launched officially on Thursday at the HLSCC, and we'll be hearing much more about the campaign in these weeks and months to come. But of particular interest is the role of the media in helping to dispel the myths about financial services. The financial services industry is calling on the local media to play a vital role in helping to dispel the myths. I'm sure you may be aware, Edgerenka, that many people often see financial services as something that is actually external to the BVI, although it is right here in the territory, and partly maybe because not many locals are at the top of the industry in terms of the income earning or the income generation aspects of the industry. So there are many misconceptions about the industry, and we are hoping that in the weeks to come, in particular, we could see a behavioral change. But before we go further, let's hear. I can tell you that a strategic framework has been laid out, and as part of that framework, there are 10 initiatives that the industry is hoping to focus on as it restructures or repositions the financial services sector here in BVI. And among that 10, one is headed or sponsored by Mr. Gerard Ferrara QC. That particular area is called Reform, Labor and Immigration, and that is really to attract skilled workers into the territory to ensure that the local industry has the requisite human resources to remain viable. And he addressed the media briefing or the media breakfast earlier today. He spoke on the role of the media, and during the discourse after his presentation, he shared this particular comment with regards to dispelling myths. Let's listen to him and hear what he has to say.
You see how important it is in two particular ways. One is to educate the public as to the importance and indeed the attractiveness of this industry to the territory. There are certain misconceptions about the financial services industry in the BVI. And the media also has a role, in my respectful submission, in educating the public and dispelling some of those misconceptions. For example, one typical misconception is that the BVI is a tax haven. But when you really look at what it means to be a tax haven, you will see that the BVI is not a tax haven. The second one, which is related to that, is that the financial services industry is that secretive industry where confidentiality is the primary objective as a cover for persons who are involved in illegal and otherwise unwarranted activity internationally. And that certainly is not the role of the financial services industry in the BVI. The role of the financial services industry in the BVI, as it is elsewhere, really is to provide legal vehicles and mechanisms through which persons throughout the world, internationally, can make investments and can protect their assets. And you will see, for example, the BVI has become extremely well known with regard to incorporations. And that means that we are incorporating companies, we are incorporating entities in the BVI that are being utilized in structures worldwide for legitimate business purposes. Of course, if you are a country that is at the forefront of that aspect of the financial services industry in the world, you would expect that from time to time there would be a few bad apples. And the focus often shifts so much to those bad apples at the expense of the rest of the industry and the very important and legitimate role which the industry plays in the context of the BVI and indeed internationally.
So there you have it, looking at at least two of the core areas that many people are often taking out of context, taking the idea of the financial services sector being something that encourages illegal activity, and that the BVI is somehow a tax haven.
Yeah. Well, I think the campaign, Sean, is an excellent idea and a good thing for the BVI, the whole rebranding of our financial services sector to shed that stain of being a tax haven and engaging in otherwise unwarranted, as Mr. Ferrara said, activities. Television, movies. When you look at some shows and crime dramas, you see the Caymans and the Bahamas and Bermuda come up a lot in regard to secret accounts and money transfers and hiding and. So
those narco trafficking movies tend to include
and
those areas.
so I think Hollywood has given the offshore financial services a bloody face, and I think it's great that we are moving to remain that stain from some real important financial services products that the Virgin Islands is selling to the international community.
And bear in mind the 2013 International Consortium of Journalists and what they did into investigative journalists, what they did in terms of branding,
trying to attacking us in a way that they did, which was totally unwarranted, unfair, and inaccurate. But one of the things that interested me was the desire of this campaign to build local capacity, and as you know, Sean, that's something that we've been looking at for many years. I think we've been in the financial services industry for more than 30
years now.
More than 30 years, I think.
That's right. Since 1985, thereabout.
And I think that as local business people, we need to now engage. It is high time that we engage in entrepreneurship, the entrepreneurship opportunities that comes from that sector, as opposed to just the employment opportunities. Yes, it's great to have the employment opportunities. Yes, we get the revenue from the financial services to the tune of 60 cents on every dollar. We get a lot of employment. We get our office buildings rented. So there's some good
the real estate industry benefits.
Yes, there's some good industry generation from financial services. However, I think looking towards the future, I'd like to see us looking towards ownership of companies, not just employment, but making the big money. And I think from what I've heard today, we are perhaps developing a strategy to build capacity for Virgin Islanders to really actively engage in the entrepreneurial opportunities that's going to come from the financial services development as we move forward.
And one does get the impression that part of this compelling narrative by coming out of the BVI Forward campaign is for young people, students, and also the working population to understand that the financial services industry is not beyond them. It is not beyond us. The various roles and the opportunities that exist are not beyond us. We can fill these roles, and rightly so. The entrepreneurial opportunities are certainly there for the taking as well.
Yes, and another good move that we made is the inclusion of the financial services into the curriculum of the high school, along with our tourism product as well. And so that bodes well in terms of getting our youngsters becoming aware of the opportunities in the financial services industry, what the importance of it to them as young people, and of course to the entire territory, so that when they grow up they have different career choices that they can make other than what what have existed in the past. So I think that all those initiatives are moving towards building capacity and creating a sense of ownership of the financial services industry. Because I think, as Sam Henry rightly said today, the more we are involved in it,
Yes.
the more we will embrace it and we will own it. It's just like on the tourism product. The tourism products seem to be easy for us to get involved in, whether it's ancillary services or in the main driving forces in the tourism product. I mean, look at businesses like Maria's by the Sea, for example. You could also look at Treasure Isle. You could look
Yes.
at Hodges Creek Marina. Those are all locally owned entities, businesses that are in the forefront of attracting money into the territory and doing business at the highest levels.
And I'm very sure that they weren't at the level that they are today some 15, 20 years ago.
That's right.
Right.
We are growing, and that's
Yes.
important. It's a process. We don't expect that it'll happen overnight, but as long as we put institutions in place, as long as we put the infrastructure in place for us to grow, we will eventually get there, and
That's right.
that's where my hope lies.
And looking at the expansion of the financial services sector here in the Virgin Islands, in 1993 we are told that there were some 100,000 company incorporations. That figure grew to over 480,000 in 2013. Now, within recent times, in 2014 thereabout, that figure declined somewhat again as a result of the fallout of the ICIJ attacks and so forth, and some people, of course, running scared about their information going secret, being exposed, private information, not illegal information, of course. And we saw what happened in the UK elections about these scare tactics again, calling for an exposure of the public list of companies and so on. And some people, of course, naturally having their fears about that. So you had a reduction in the company incorporations. But what's interesting, this has also led to a need for a diversified financial services industry moving into different aspects of the sector. And I noted today that Ms. Lorna Smith, who once headed up the BVI Hong Kong office, said that companies like Civitsa, this shipping company that was recently registered here in the Virgin Islands, and also, based on what they said, is operating out of an office here in the BVI, which has over 400,000 tugs and other vessels, is part of this diversification of the sector. So when we see companies like that coming in, it means more revenue. Yes, it's in the shipping industry, but it also is part and parcel of the overall financial services sector. And this too points to the areas where people can get into new career opportunities, and it's not just about working in a quote-unquote financial services office, so to speak, or an offshore office. It's really a broad spectrum of employment opportunities that the industry offers, and as a result, a lot of opportunities for income generation, revenue generation for the territory. And here too, the role of the media becomes even more critical, because one of the things that we highlighted today is the need for access to information and for access to the principal players in the industry, so that whenever issues arise, we may have a discourse, a frank and open discussion, so that the public can benefit from a more informed media here in the Virgin Islands.
Yes, Sean, that's so important that our media play an active role in proselytizing our products.
Yes.
and what we have to offer here in the BVI. It's important that the international community, through our media, learn about all the good things we have in the BVI, and we try to minimize as much as we can all the negative things that goes out into the international.
Especially when they're not factual.
media. Yes.
Because certainly you recall when the ICIJ attacks happened, we were here on Spotlight on numerous occasions, pointing to some of the fallacies in what the journalists were saying coming out of the US and other places. And I can't recall we were supported by some of the principal players in the industry publicly, maybe privately, but certainly not publicly. And I hope that in the future, should something like this happen, we would see them joining us and being a part of the
pushback.
Yes, the pushback
Yeah.
to
And I think that
clarify those issues.
That is what this BVI Forward,
BVI Forward
is going to be about.
Dawn of a new day, we were
Yes,
told.
it's great.